What do you do when you come out on an end run, you guards? You get out there, I don't give two damns where that man's standing. You work your way into that line of scrimmage inside out. Well, maybe another 9 years will do it for you then. It's inexcusable for you to miss that. You just took it for granted and you...
Well, hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. And welcome to the Gridiron. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone out there who's been watching my videos. Thank you. If you can maybe give this video a thumbs up or possibly leave a comment below or maybe even share this video, it would mean so much to me. But anyway, just thank you so much for just taking time out of your day to check out this video. Thank you. All right. Yee, boy. The 5 worst draft classes in the history of the New York Football Giants. And I'll tell you what. You got to go back in the day. There was pretty much a plethora of bad football drafts by the New York Giants. A plethora, if I may take a Dan Dierdorf phrase there, or word, shall I say. It was kind of hard, choosing, exactly which ones. But I think I got an honorable mention, and I got 5 real good ones. Fucking real doozies. So, I mean, you got to realize, like, nowadays, I mean, when, like in 2015, when we got Eric Flowers, you think he's, a bust or whatever you want to call him. He's still playing, Obviously, he's not a first-round pick, so we think, oh, my God, the class is horrible, Or, of course, we got Eli Apple. In 2016, oh, that was the worst. Oh, I mean, maybe that one pick was, but then we got Sterling Shepard out of that. We got Landon Collins after Eric Flower. I mean, so there was other guys that made the team and, made some contributions and all of that and everything, But I mean, it's come a long way, compared to what it was. I mean, if nowadays, I mean, these classes that I'm going to go over, if especially the number 1 overall, if we had anything close to this, the number 1 overall, by everybody be just fired. I mean, the amount of money, the manpower, the hours, the time, all of this, that gets, because it's more and more a business. It's the more and more time goes by, the more, the analytics and all kinds of stuff, It's still never going to be a perfect science, but, we're obviously as the years go by, I think we're getting a little better and better. Maybe not the quarterbacks, but, as far as predicting, guys that, that are going to be good. I mean, if you got a good scouting system and you can do a decent job at filling up your roster with draft picks. So, but anyway, I got an honorable mention. All right, the honorable mention worst draft class of all time goes back to the first class, 1936. There was 9 rounds. We had 9 picks. Out of the 9 picks, only 3 made it. Period. All right. Our pick number 1, Art Lewis, played 1 year for the Giants. Our first-round pick played 1 year. Our 4th round selection, Gene Rose, he was an end. He played 1 season, and that was it. The only reason why this one's not maybe in the top 5 is because our 2nd-round pick, Tuffy Lemons, is a Hall of Famer. All right, he made it. He played from 1936 to 1943. He was in a Hall of Fame class in 1978. All right. So, I mean, if it was just maybe Tuffy Lemons and he played 5-6 years or so, possibly that class might have made it in to the top 5. But because, I mean, the first rounder only played 1 year for the Giants. The 4th rounder only played 1 year, period. And that was it. But, I mean, so that's the honorable mention, okay? But the 5th worst draft class of all time for the New York Giants is 1972. All right. We had 2 first rounders too. All right. Our first rounder was Eldridge Small. All right. He was pick number 17. He played 3 years for the Giants. He had one interception. The interception he had was against the Dallas Cowboys in 1974. We beat the Cowboys, I think, 14-6 that year. He picked off a Roger Staubach pass. After 3 years, the Giants traded him to the Cleveland Browns after 74, and he never made their team. So he played three years. He had one interception. He was pick number 17. One interception, 3 very mediocre, horrible, whatever you want to call it, years. And that was it. He was gone. Our second round pick was pick number 24. All right, now he had more promise. He was a very good, defensive lineman in college. Larry Jacobson. He only played 3 years for the Giants. He played a grand total of 33 games. The Giants, 1972, he played a lot. And he had a nice season in 1972. 1973, I think before the season, I think he stepped on a piece of glass and he severed a tendon in his foot. So he wound up missing some time in 1973. He only played half the season or so. 1974, he came and he started playing, and then his back started bothering him, and they couldn't figure out why. Then he got a sore on his foot, and they wound up finding out there was another piece of glass, about 1 inch long, in his foot, and they pulled that out. So that kind of killed the rest of his season with 74. So he was just marred with injuries. He was an Outland Trophy winner for Nebraska. Nebraska in the early 70s was phenomenal. They're like Alabama now. But he was good. He probably would have had a nice, good career for the Giants. After the 74 season, in training camp in 75, he said a rookie running back chop blocked him or cut blocked him, which they shouldn't. He said 3 guys fell on him. He wound up breaking his leg. He came so that canceled him out for the 75 season. He came back in 1976, and he failed his physical, and his career was over with. So he was just marred with injuries, 3 years in a row, injuries, and it's a shame, Russ. He might have had a nice. He wasn't phenomenal in 1970. Nice. I think he had 4 sacks, but he was a defensive tackle, But he might have had a nice career with the Giants, but it was just cut short. So the first round pick, they had played 3 years. Larry Jacobson played 3 years. What made this class nice, all right, in my mind, is John Mendenhall, a 3rd round pick. He played 1972 to 1979 with the Giants, finished his career in 1980 with the Detroit Lions. He is one of my all-time favorite New York Giants, period, bar none. One of my favorite, top 5. Love the guy, number 64. He was a defensive tackle. He was short, but he was powerfully built, low to the ground, and he gave it his all on every frickin' play. And he had to give it his all because we stunk back then. Absolutely love John Mendenhall. So he if it wasn't for him, this class might even be a little bit worse. Then we had Tom Gatewood, our 5th rounder. All right, he played 2 seasons. He played a grand total of 17 games for the Giants, and he was out of football. He had a nice career. He did really good in Notre Dame. Him, Joe Theismann, and him really hooked up. They had some good offense in Notre Dame, but just couldn't do it in the pros, I guess. Then we had John Hill, our 6th round selection. Okay, he had a long career from 72 to 85, but most of the time wasn't with the Giants. He only played 3 seasons with the Giants. He played 72 to 74 with the Giants. So his next 11 seasons, he played 10 seasons with the Saints, and he finished up his last season in 1985 with the 49ers. So he played 3 years with the Giants. Tom Gatewood played 2 seasons. Our 2 first-round picks only played 3 seasons. So really, we had 2 first-round picks, and they played a grand total of 6 years in the NFL. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. 72 was the Giants. They drafted 18 guys they had 17 rounds, and they drafted 18 guys, and only 5 of them made it out of 18 guys. 5 out of 18. Oh my God, absolutely horrible. Okay, so that is the number 5 worst draft class of all time. The number 4 worst draft class of all time is the class from 1957, and this one actually has a Hall of Famer in it. There was 30 rounds. We had 27 picks, and only 3 out of the 27 actually had a football career. 3 out of 27. Holy crap, is that horrible. What made this one, I said, would have been, certainly would have been lower, but there was a Hall of Famer in here. Without this Hall of Famer, this class would have been much lower. It might have been even number 1. Okay. Sam DeLuca, who was a guard, okay, guard/tackle. We drafted him in the 2nd round, but he never played for the Giants. He wound up playing 6 seasons in the AFL. He was, he played with the, I think he played with the Chargers and the Jets, I believe it was, for 6 years, from like 60 to 65, I think it was. He was like an all-pro, I believe, a couple of seasons in the NFL. So he was good, but he just never played for the Giants. So that one of their guys they drafted, was good. He just never played for the Giants. Then our 8th round selection, okay, in the 1957 draft was Johnny Bookman. All right, he played 1 season for the Giants. Boom, that was it. All right. Then, as I said, the reason why this class is not maybe number 1, probably would be number 1. All right, but in the 9th round we drafted some guy by the name of Don Maynard, who was a Hall of Famer. He played 1 season for the Giants in 1958. 1959, he played in the CFL. Then from 1960 to 72, he played with the Jets. Won a Super Bowl with the Jets. 1973, finished his career off with the Rams. 1987, he got elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But I said this class would have been low. Might have been number 1 if it wasn't for the fact that we drafted Don Maynard. Don Maynard played 1 season. So between all 27 guys that we picked, all right, we got 2 guys that played for the Giants 1 season each. As a matter of fact, you can see, I think Don Maynard's last play ever for the New York Giants was in the 1958 NFL Championship game between the Giants and the Colts at Yankee Stadium. Went to overtime. The Colts wound up winning 23-17. But anyway, the overtime kickoff, Don Maynard standing he's on the kick return team. He's standing underneath the goalpost. The ball gets kicked about to the 10-yard line. He's standing on the goalpost, realizes it's short. He starts running up to catch it. You can see it on video. He tries to catch the ball on the run. The ball goes through his hands. He fumbles the ball. He picks it up and he gets tackled around like the 20-yard line. I think that was his last play ever for the New York Giants, because shortly after that, the Giants punted the ball to the Colts. Johnny Unitas walked the Colts down the field, and Alan Amici ran a game-winning touchdown in. 23-17, game over. Colts win the championship. But that was, I think, Don Maynard's last play ever. But the 1957 class is the 4th worst class of all time. And I said, would it probably be number 1, but if we didn't draft Don Maynard, a Hall of Famer. All right. So now the number 3 class is the class of 1970. 17 rounds, we had 13 picks, and 3 out of the 13 had football careers. Okay? No Hall of Famers, nothing like that. Right? Our 1st round pick was Jim Fowles. Very good. He was a middle linebacker from Oklahoma. Very, very good pick. Very good pick. Now, he played from 70 to 73. He played four seasons, and then he became a minister. The 1972 season, he said, he thought they should have been pretty good, and guys were, we didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make the playoffs, and he said the guys were starting to bicker and whatever. And he said he didn't like that. Didn't kind of like that too much. Guys were like arguing with themselves and all that. And then the 1973 season, the Giants were 2-11-1. He said his heart was not in it. He didn't even show up pretty much the whole season. And after that, he just retired. So, good middle linebacker, played 4 seasons and became a minister. All right, the number 4, our 4th round pick was Wes Grant. Played 4 years, none with the Giants. Right, he played 4 seasons with 4 different teams. He played with Buffalo, San Diego, Cleveland, and Houston. All right, so we drafted a guy in the 4th round, never played for the Giants at all. Then we had Pat Hughes, linebacker. Nice linebacker. He had a nice career with the Giants. He played from 1970 to 76, played 7 seasons with the Giants. Then he finished his last 3 seasons with the Saints. So he had a 10-year career. All right, so he was a 9th round pick. All right, he was nothing super spectacular. He He played a lot because our defense was on the field a lot back then. But I mean, other than that, you know, we had basically we had 13 picks. Two of the 13 played for the Giants. You know, and we no Hall of Famers, no All Pros, nothing. So number 3. Worst draft class of all time, the 1970. All right, the number 2 worst draft class of all time is the 1945 NFL draft class for the New York Giants. We had 30 rounds, okay? 32 rounds. We had 30 picks. 5 guys out of the 30 actually had careers. 5 out of the 30. But the reason why this is, I mean, I'll just show you as we go through this. I'll show you why it's so freaking pathetic. We got 5 guys, but our first round pick, Elmer Barbaro. All right, he played 3 games for the New York Giants. Our first round pick. That was it. Good old Elmer played 3 games. Our first round selection, 3 games. His career was over. Now, our 6th round pick, all right, Barney Poole. He played 11 games for the Giants. That was it. All right. Then we had our 7th round selection was Jack Mead. He played 2 seasons, played a grand total of 20 games for the Giants. All right. Now, 16th round selection, Jim Little played 3 games, and that was it. Career was over. Right. Then our 21st round selection, Sam Ficanti played 4 seasons in the league. None were with the Giants. So out of their 30 picks, they had 5 guys. All right, played a grand total of 37 games for the Giants. We had five picks. Grand total of 37 games. Right now, basically, at this rate would be 2.5 seasons right now. A grand total of 2.5 seasons. 30 picks, 5 guys played a grand total of 37 games in the NFL for the New York Giants. Absolutely freaking pathetic. But the 1945 class is only the second worst of all time. The first, and this is by far to me, the worst class, NFL draft class in the history of the New York Giants is got to be the 1967 NFL draft class. There was 17 rounds. Giants had 12 picks. Out of the 12, 2 of them had football careers, okay? We had no first round pick, we had no second round pick, we had no third round pick, we had no 6th round pick, and we had no 7th round pick. Basically, we traded away our first and second round pick for Fran Tarkenton. So we did get something in return for Fran, but I mean, we didn't draft Fran Tarkenton, but we traded for him. But we got a Hall of Fame quarterback. He played 5 seasons for the Giants, but we didn't have a team. You know, somehow he got us to 7-7, which is a small miracle. We couldn't run the ball. Our defense was not very good. Somehow we were 7-7, but because we couldn't draft, we had no team. I mean, we got a Hall of Fame quarterback. He just couldn't do his thing because we had no team. But out of the 12 picks we had, okay, our 5th round pick, okay, was Dave Lewis. All right, he was a quarterback from Stanford. He played 4 seasons in the NFL. None of them were with the Giants. None. All of them were with the Bengals from 1970 to 1973. Actually, he was a pretty good punter. I'll tell you. He was a league leader in punt average in 1970. He averaged 46.2 yards a punt for the Bengals. And then he was a league leader for punt average in 1971 too. 44.8 yards per punt. I mean, pretty good. But of course, he did that with the Bengals. He didn't do that with the Giants. All right, so we had 12 picks. 2 of them had NFL careers, and one of the 2, never played for the Giants. So out of our 12 picks, we had one guy in the whole draft that actually had a career with the Giants. One guy in the 1967 NFL draft. It was Scott Eaton. Okay, he was an 8th round selection. Okay, so you don't expect too much from him. But he played from 1967 to 1971. He played 5 seasons with the Giants. He was the only player in the draft that played any time at all for the New York Giants. 17 rounds, and all we could come up with was one player that we could draft that actually spent any time at all for the New York Giants. And you just kind of wonder why Yeah, the Giants back in the 70s and late 60s and all sucked. Well, because their drafts were absolutely horrible. So when the Giants, make a miss on the guy here or maybe miss on a guy there, yeah, stuff like that happens. All you got to do is think back to like the class of 1967 where we had 17 rounds and all the New York Giants could come up with was one guy that played 5 seasons for the New York Giants. Now that's frickin' pathetic. Well, as always, guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to check out this video. You guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo!